Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to Moon Knight premiere day. I'm Eric. This is Kim. And also, welcome to pre-tape. This episode, we're going to usually be doing these Moon Knight sort of recap review episodes live. This one's on me. I'm going to be at a screening of another Marvel character whose name starts with M. That is my subtle clue. I couldn't do it in our usual slot. But we'll be back live next week. But Kim, how goes it? Are you ready to talk some Moon Knight?
I am. Yes, I am.
All right, we're gonna get into
spoilers.
Full spoilers. That's right. For episode one, called the Goldfish Problem. I think it's funny when we get the screeners of these episodes, we don't get the titles. So that was an exciting moment today to be like, what's it actually called? But if you have not seen episode one, the Goldfish Problem, we're about to spoil it for you. So that's your one last warning. 3, 2, 1. Go watch it on Disney Plus and come back here if you haven't seen it. Full spoilers now. So this, Kim, was our introduction to Moon Knight. Very notable, I'd say, because while this is the 5th live action MCU show on Disney Plus, 6 overall with What If, first one about a completely new character. Everything else was pre-established characters, and even if Kate Bishop was the co-lead, she's next to Clint Barton. So what did you think of Moon Knight and kind of this the first time these shows are kind of really coming in with a clean slate?
Yeah, well, I think it was important that they got someone of Oscar Isaac's stature and caliber to carry it, and also, of course, Ethan Hawke as the antagonist. For those people who don't know the character, and that's a lot of us, Marvel fans included. He's not one of the better known characters, So like my overall thoughts of this first episode were that it was really fun and funny and also unsettling. And I think they've got the balance right here. They kind of do lean into the humor and which is interesting because it's about, in a way, such a serious topic. Oscar Isaac in our interview said that the main focus of the show is dissociative identity disorder, which the character he plays, Mark Spector / Stephen Grant, suffers from. And there's a temptation, I suppose, with that to be overly serious, and it's not. It's got a lot of great humor in it, and I love that about it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you that like Oscar Isaac is, a very sort of necessary component because this is all sort of brand new. It's interesting with Marvel because the sense of humor, which I think has been key to their success. I know that some people use it to snark on them and say, oh, it's too much of a thing. But I think it helps you a lot to kind of bring you into these stories. And, Moon Knight in the comics, he was always like, he has multiple personalities. And that was at a time when they were not even thinking at all about the real life implications of that. And then as the years went on, they're like, well, first saying he has multiple personalities, we should actually kind of dig into what that would mean and what that person would be suffering from, and have done that in a better way. And I think this show, I like how it begins with, it's so much focused on Stephen Grant and him, he is our in as far as he is as confused as maybe a person who doesn't know anything about Moon Knight would be to what the hell is going on. We know that he's shackling himself to the bed and he's afraid of like what he might do, but he clearly doesn't have like a full handle on what the hell is happening to him. And I kind of liked that. And also, these Marvel shows have embraced the weird, like WandaVision and Loki. And this one is too, but with a brand new character. So I really like that. What did you think of his sort of day-to-day life? And we're seeing him here in his museum. What is he? A shopist, a gift shopist.
Bless him. Yes, I love his. Especially as someone that has lived in London. I don't any longer. It's lovely to see places I recognise on screen. Where he works is the National Gallery. You see him in Trafalgar Square, and I walk through there all the time. So that's really cool. And like the point of his starting with this character, seeing things through this character's eyes and the job he has and everything, we see him surrounded by icons and elements from the world that he ultimately plunges into. And so it kind of builds up that idea that is it a dream or is it reality? Which I like here. It's not always successful in things, but I think they've paid a lot of attention to detail in this first episode with things like the living statue that he talks to, the Goldman.
Which I did not realize was a real person at first. So good job to that guy.
And the things that he's selling in the gift shop, all kind of manifest in some way in the kind of the dream world, which is Mark Spector's world.
I also want to mention that between Eternals and this, London Museum's really getting a push from the MCU. Which museum was in Black Panther now? I don't remember.
A fake one.
Okay, a fake one. But still, museum tourism, they're all about it. And yeah, I like this how, we see, first of all, everyone, when we first got the very first trailers for this, we're like, what's this accent he's doing? And then, not only have they acknowledged in interviews, like, yeah, there's a reason it sounds off. I mean, even in this episode, I think it's really funny when he says, like, does he say like London? And then he goes, I don't know why I'm saying it like that. And, and my accent is really bad, but the point is that there's something
I wondered how much you as an American could pick up how bad it is, but I love it. I love the badness of it, whether it's deliberate, and I have my qualms about that. It's a good excuse for it being bad. Whether it is or not, I love it. I can't stop doing it.
No, I definitely got, especially because Oscar Isaac is such a good actor. That first footage, I was like, what happened with his accent? Didn't anyone tell him this is off? But then it's like, okay, yeah, there's something happening here. And actually, when I interviewed the directors, they talked about how, I guess it wasn't always scripted that he'd have a different accent, but it was an Oscar Isaac suggestion to which obviously also helps us differentiate, because as we see by the end of the episode, he's going to have scenes with himself talking, and it's a very clear Mark Steven distinction there. We also get some info on Steven here, because while he's just a gift shopist, he knows a ton about Egyptian history. It's, he's throwing out factoids to kids coming through the place. He clearly is a pretty skilled gift shopist.
He's very dedicated, even if he doesn't turn up on time.
Right. Now, look, Kim and I have seen the first 4 episodes. We're not going to go into spoilers for any of those episodes. But, certainly this one has a lot of these shows tend to do. We only get a glimpse of costumed Moon Knight by the end of it. But for me, the highlight of this episode on a sort of, spectacle action level didn't have to do with him being in the costume at all. And that was the cupcake truck chase.
I knew you were going to say that.
I loved this sequence because the whole point was, don't show us the cool stuff. That we can imagine the amazing death-defying things Mark Spector is doing, but neither you or Stephen Grant have access to that. What did you think of this sequence?
Well, I loved it when he smushed a cupcake in the guy's head.
Right.
And I mean, this is soundtracked to "Wake Me Up Before You Go" by Wham, which is genius. And the music, the song options, particularly in this episode, were great. It gets people complain a lot about the same old songs being trotted out in stuff, and here we got, I think, some different but not unknown stuff. And here, "Wake Me Up Before You Go" worked really brilliantly. And here, in that image there, you saw the twisty road that they're kind of chasing down, and it's so slow, in a deliberately fun and funny way, unlike maybe that slow chase in the Book of Boba Fett that we
Right.
talked about on the bikes, the colourful bikes. And I enjoyed that as well. The twisty turn. It was really inventive. So
it really was. And again, the fact that we weren't seeing the highlights, but when he wakes up and the van is going backwards, and we can only imagine the cool spin out, Fast and Furious moves that Mark Spector is doing. I think that's great. On top of, the moments that preceded that, which is where he is, waking up and he has just beaten down all these people. It's really fun because not that I don't want this show by its end to have some great fight scenes, but we know what a great fight scene looks like, and a fight scene by subtraction, I just thought was a really, really great way to do it on a clever sort of cinematic way, but also to put us into Stephen Grant's very confused, badly British accented, point of view there. Let's talk a little bit more about Arthur Harrow, Ethan Hawke, which he actually, the very first person we see in this show, putting his feet into shoes that he filled with glass.
Oh, don't you do that? What do you mean?
Yes, I'm going to do that right when after this for my morning stroll. He's a cult leader. And we, get the vibe that he definitely has sway over these people. What did you think of our introduction to Harrow here?
I mean, yeah, he's harrowing, as per his name. Yeah, chilling, and a menacing presence throughout this first episode. And you just kind of feel that there's some real evil in there waiting to come out. It just really, you really feel it. I think we know that will happen at some point, but he does such a good job of containing it, but letting it kind of simmer out. I can't wait to see, and we have seen more of him, but we haven't seen the final 2 episodes, Eric, right. You and I, and there's still plenty more to discover, and I can't wait to see where he ultimately goes.
I thought, the introduction with him was really intriguing. It always throws me when Ethan Hawke is clean shaven because it's so unusual. So I was joking with my friends, that's why his hair is longer, that he's like, I'll shave, but I need more hair.
Yeah, funnily, yes. And funnily enough, I was going to say about the fact that this character seems really evil. He inhabits it so well. I think in our interview, I asked him where this guy Arthur Harrow ranks on his scale of villains that he's played. And of course, he turned around and said, I haven't played many villains in my career, which is kind of incredible because he does it so well.
He does. I will mention that I've actually seen The Black Phone, which is the Blumhouse movie that he is very much the villain in. It played at Beyond Fest last fall, then it got delayed, another COVID delay, but it's coming out this summer, and he's great in that. And that one, there's not even like the pretense of like I'm a nice person to the people following me. He's just a scary, awful child killer, but he's great in that. So I think this is like an interesting point in his career when because as he's mentioned, he didn't do a lot of villainy, and now he's like 2022 is the year of Ethan Hawke playing the villain. I thought that it was just sort of intriguing to get these glimpses of him and his followers. He also has an interesting line in this episode where he says to Stephen, it's maddening, isn't it? The voice in your head. So it's like, whoa, he knows a lot more about what's going on. Like he has this understanding of Stephen's situation, which sort of alludes to some sort of kinship between them. So I thought that was all really cool. And also, again, the humor, very funny as far as when he knows something's wrong and tests it by having everyone bow down. And poor Stephen doesn't know, how to do that right.
I just work in a gift shop.
Just work at a gift shop. I will say it is, because we're getting a glimpse here of images of when he's on the bus and he's kind of follows him to his job. That was, I thought, that was an interesting sequence. There was a couple things that were a little funny, silly, as far as like, the all the people that are revealed to be his followers. There's always that sort of John Wick thing of like, how many people are in on this in a story like this? But I did like the idea that it's like the Harrow's followers, you could be one, they could be one.
Well, I'm not saying that I agree with him, but he's got a point.
Right. What was the part when he said, because he brings up, am I going to pronounce this name right? Amet, one of the Egyptian gods evoked here, and that she would have prevented Hitler, she would have prevented Armenian genocide, and I think Stephen has some funny line about like that would have been good, or that's
Yeah.
bad people,
And I
Uh,
love the way he delivers those lines in that conversation in particular, actually, because it's kind of really underplayed and it makes it funnier.
yeah.
I was thinking about the Avatar comment as well.
Oh, that's right. Yes. I know at this point, everything has to be funneled through the fact that Disney owns everything. So they're like, of course they're name dropping Avatar, but it was a funny run.
It was funny. I will accept that.
I will as well. A slight gripe here about it was funny to me that after that extremely tense situation, Steven, who doesn't know, he's so out of his wits here and he's being confronted at his job by this scary guy and who has all these followers. He does just go about his normal workday. I was like, I don't know, I might go home after that. I don't know if I'd finish my shift.
No, but I suppose he's on his last warning.
Right. And then we get here at the end, of course. Well, first of all, we get a couple things. I kind of skipped over the fact that we get a couple little moments of the voice of F. Murray Abraham as Khonshu. I thought, very nice little smattering there. What is the where he says, ugh, the idiot's in control.
Yeah.
Poor Stephen.
I felt so sorry for Stephen when he messed up his date and he ate steak and he's a vegan and then he ate the chocolates all by himself and I just really felt for him.
I know he's having a tough go of it here.
Yeah, idiot.
Yes. Being called an idiot by an Egyptian god, it's just piling up. And then, we at the end here we get sort of the first big Mark and Steven talking to each other using mirrors to speak to each other. Oscar Isaac really getting to sort of show his stuff, playing these two different performances before we're gonna get a glimpse of Moon Knight in costume here. What do you think of this this sort of concluding sequence?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it really makes you want to watch the next episode. Definitely. I love the use of mirrors here and reflections throughout, actually, was, it's not a new thing to use reflections to signify various things. Different identities, fractured identities, and everything else. But also there were a couple of moments this is just reminding me of something that happened earlier with puddles, where there was one puddle in particular when he was talking to the living statue where the reality was completely mirrored beneath and inverted. So it was almost like, aside from there being the suggestion that there's two realities or an alternate reality, it is also this idea of a dream world or an underworld, or an afterlife, like with the Egyptian gods, maybe. So if that makes sense.
No, that is a good point. It's funny because I've seen the new Fantastic Beasts movie, and this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer, that there's a cool imagery, like you see that part in the trailer with Dumbledore and Credence where it shifts, like they're above ground, but then it shifts to them kind of mirrored and something's looking very different. And I don't think either of these copied from each other. They were being made at the same time, but it's cool imagery in both,
Yeah.
This kind of the parallel, not a literal like multiverse thing, but the idea of like, different layers to everything. I really liked the way they did this at the end with like, it's interesting with Moon Knight himself, because we see that it's like almost like a transformation. It's morphin time. Power Rangers thing here. It was funny to me that how they can be so tricky with special effects these days, where we've seen glimpses in the trailers of him beaten down in that bathroom, and we're like, who's he beating down on? And it turns out it's a big creature that we can completely see. It's just they didn't put that in the trailers,
Yes.
But I thought that all worked like, and definitely, look, there's been a lot of talk about like Marvel, how edgy will they get, and the Netflix shows arriving with extra parental layers for MCU. Like, while yes, he's not fighting a person here, he's pretty intense, his fighting style, from what we glimpsed. What do you think of this little smidgen we got here of Moon Knight's beatdown?
It augurs well for what's to come, doesn't it? And I hope that there'll be more more cool fight scenes. But like I said, it was a great way to kind of close the episode and make me tune in for, and probably, you know, the less kind of knowledgeable viewers of the whole Marvel universe to tune in next week for more.
Mm-hmm. I want to mention something here that, overall, I mean, I think it's sort of safe to talk. I mean, I wrote about it in my article, and also it's just kind of been talked about a lot in the press leading up. This show, and certainly even this first episode kind of shows you, it's very interesting to see how little it leans on it being part of the MCU. Not just that he's a brand new character, but you even think about like Shang-Chi or Eternals. They get, there's a Wong cameo, or there's a mention of the snap, or Thanos. There's something there to remind you, like, hey, remember that other thing and that other thing? This doesn't do that at all. It's, it really, like, if you watch this cold, you would not know it's an MCU story. What do you think of that, as far as, like, how much it is just presenting its story self-contained?
Yeah, I think that's a good choice that they've made. They don't need to, with casting like that. Anyway, it should be able to stand on its own. They're new to the MCU, and in it, I love that they've done that. I'm sure at some point it will become more entwined. But yeah, the story, the plot is so complex that I think perhaps they felt that it was trying to do too much, were they to do that. They've got to explain about, the Egyptian gods and all the lore, and ultimately, I suppose, explain Mark Spector's backstory, which is quite involved.
Yeah, you're actually, I think Grant Curtis, one of the EPs and the directors, kind of said something very similar to that, they didn't consciously set out to be like, this one will be completely self-contained. But once they started to talk about the fact that their main character is multiple characters and has to explain, like, how he has his powers and all of that, it just naturally became that. And I think it's a good idea. I love all the interconnected stuff. I love when, someone shows up and it's like, oh, that's a fun little thing there. But they all shouldn't have to do that. And we all know Oscar Isaac will play Moon Knight fighting alongside another character we know eventually. Probably not in this show, but he is going to be in other stories with familiar characters. Who knows by the end, if there's a post-credit scene or something. But even if there's not, I think that's totally fine. I think it's let's let I think that's, in fact, it's sometimes a complaint of it. I know some people get like exhausted by how I have to keep up with this and this and this and this. I love that stuff, but it's also nice to be like, hey, no, you can just watch Moon Knight. You're good.
There's so much of it. Why not? It can straddle both. But that, that I did notice that there was which hasn't been in the MCU yet, but there was a little Easter egg in there for Atlantis, the Atlantis pub. I don't know if you saw that. So
I did not.
I wondered if whether that was just an Easter egg or a little tease of something to come.
Right.
And also in Moon Knight's story from the comic books, there was it stopped when Stephen found Mark's phone, and he was going through the names, and there was Duchamp. So he, in the comic books, is his pilot friend,
Frenchie. Yes.
Yeah. Again, whether he actually comes into it as a character or not is remains to be seen. But it was a nice little tease.
It was, especially like has anyone hearing this who doesn't know Moon Knight in the comics might imagine a guy named Frenchie. It's pretty stereotypical back in the day. But there's a way to reinterpret that. And yeah, like you said, I don't know if we'll see him in this show, but it is a nice way to layer him in there. I had someone on Twitter ask me, and it seems funny now that we've seen the show, but I understand why they asked me. They said, hey, can I watch this if I haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home yet? Like, will it spoil anything? I was like, you're good. You're unless this takes a wild turn at the end.
Yeah. Well, it could.
It could. Before we wrap up, we should mention a couple. You mentioning that phone. There's a couple little things I want to throw in. We heard a voice on the other end of that phone. We know that character is going to be May Calame. Am I pronouncing your last name right? May Calamawe. I think it was the last name.
I'm not sure, but
we hear a snippet of her there. And we know that she's very confused by what's the deal with the accent. I also the questions I had coming out of this premiere are, what did happen to that fish? How did it get its extra fin back? And when he's talking to his mom on the phone, it's like, who is he speaking to? Is he speaking to anyone?
Yeah.
What did you
Yes,
think of
I
those
thought
little
the
moments?
same. I thought the same about his mum, and watching the episode again, I thought, well, the fish, I suppose, because he was away as Mark for X number of days, the fish had died, so Mark replaced it.
Mm.
Yeah, he'd gone into the shop the day before.
R.I.P. to the first fish, first of all.
Gus, how many fish? There might have been more fish.
Oh no. His mission is to atone for all the fish that have died. But yeah, the mom thing is a curiosity, because I think you're right. That's a certainly a credible reason answer for the fish. But who is he talking to? I think there is someone playing the part of his mom answer. It's his mom in a weird way, and then there's just the it's just him imagining a conversation with his mom,
or leaving a voicemail message somewhere.
right? Yeah, to a very confused person on the other end. But yeah, I'm with you, Kim, as far as this episode ended. I watched this premiere with my wife, and she's like, I want to watch the next one, which is where you want a premiere to have you. I thought especially I was very curious about this one because, like I said, it just all the other shows had such sort of very familiar things to hang on, and this was brand new. But I am so far so intrigued by it all.
Same.
So those are our thoughts, guys, on the first Moon Knight. Please let us know in the comments what you thought. Next week, though, we'll be doing this live again, so we'll be adding some live chat and bringing your questions in. But until then, keep tuning in here at Fandom. Keep sharing your Moon Knight theories. We'll be back with more. Thanks, guys. See you next time.